Well, hi, everybody. Just give me a second or two here. Going to give everybody a second to join in so we can talk about the threat for severe weather developing here in the next couple of days. So, giving everybody a second or two to join, and then we'll get going. All right. Well, I hope everybody is having a good evening. Time right now is about 9:30. It's Wednesday, hump day. We're almost to the weekend, folks. It'll be here really, really soon. But as we get into tomorrow night and again on Saturday, we're going to have to deal with at least the threat for severe weather. Um, Tomorrow during the day, no threat at all. This will not be until I think late tomorrow night before we get into any threat for strong to severe storms. So right now we have a stalled frontal boundary across the area. It's pretty humid. Actually, this front is beginning to wash out now and kind of go away. That's actually not what we're too worried about, though, at this point in time. But what we are looking at, though, is this storm system that's been spinning off the coast of the U.S. here, just off the southwest coast of California tonight. Pretty strong jet stream energy located with that. And when you're looking for severe weather, there's a couple ingredients that you have to have. Number one, you've got to have a storm system that provides your lift in the atmosphere that produces thunderstorms, okay? Also, with the stronger storm system, it gives us strong jet streams or winds throughout the atmosphere. That also helps provide lift in the atmosphere, and it can also cause the thunderstorms to tilt, and it can cause them to begin to spin and rotate when you have strong jet stream energy involved. Another thing you want to look for is warm, humid conditions. Remember, we got that stalled frontal boundary kind of over in this area, and that's brought a lot of warm, moist air in from out of the Gulf. So we've had time to juice up. But remember, you've got to have this storm system to act over that in order to get a thunderstorm to develop. So what happens is this storm system, which is probably more along the lines of in here now, is going to be moving in this direction tomorrow during the day. Ideally, to get severe storms, you would want this storm system to pop out in the middle of the afternoon or mid to late afternoon or early in the evening. But by early tomorrow evening, it's still going to be back here, so your lifting mechanisms to get severe storms still are not in place. In fact, this storm system won't be crossing over into our area until very late tomorrow night and early on Friday, and that's when we see the threat for storms on the increase. Now, there's still a chance that tomorrow, late in the afternoon, I'm talking about sometime around sunset, there could be an isolated supercell or two that may try to form along that dry line. We have what's called CAMs, convective available, is that what it's called? It's called CAMs, convective allowing models. That's right, convective allowing models. And some of them do try to develop a couple supercells up here and up into Kansas. And I think there could be some pretty nasty tornadoes tomorrow afternoon and evening, well, especially tomorrow evening up here in Kansas. That'll be closer to what we call the triple point up there. That's just better lift and better everything is up there. Down our way, whatever we see, at least along the far western edge of the dry line area there, the far eastern edge of the dry line, that's where there might be something isolated that may try to pop up. But remember, we don't have a lot of lift in the atmosphere, so that may not sustain itself for very long. I think the better chance is going to happen tomorrow night late when that storm system begins to cross the area and it's associated with what we call Pacific cold front. Remember, this system's coming out of the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific cold front crosses the area late tomorrow night. And what this is going to do is it's going to generate perhaps a cluster or some type of a line of storms crossing the area late tomorrow night. I'm talking about probably midnight, maybe a little before that. It'll start out here, and then as we get into the overnight hours, maybe pre-dawn hours, that line will slowly progress to the east. Our main concern with a line, the line of storms, the storms in a line behave differently than supercells. Supercells, they're spinning. They are able to take advantage of the atmosphere, the environment. They don't have anything to disrupt them. It's just one updraft that's spinning there, and it's just able to really unload on the atmosphere. A line of storms is multiple updrafts, and oftentimes the multiple updrafts can interfere. It can inject different wind patterns. It can inject cooler temperatures, and it's not able to maintain the same intensity that that supercells are able to maintain. But still, even with the line of storms, there can be kinks in it, and there can still be some spin-up tornadoes. So that's possible. I can't rule it out. Usually in this part of the country, once it gets late at night, the threat for tornadoes is over. It's because our boundary layer cools and we don't have enough surface-based instability to pull and stretch anything down to the Earth's surface. But tomorrow night, this is a little bit different. Very humid, tropical-like conditions, and it doesn't look like we're going to see a super strong cap tomorrow night. So it still leaves at least a bit of a window for some of these things here. So we're not going to rule out anything. All hazards are possible. I don't think this is going to be anything major, but we do need to keep an eye on it. Going to be a lot of wind energy in the atmosphere. So these thunderstorms, even in a line, have a lot of wind energy to work with. So, you know, they can still spin up things, but typically tornadoes that you see in these lines are not the same, don't have the same intensity that tornadoes within a supercell would have. But, you know, still need to keep an eye on it. Let's see here. I can show you the H-triple. Now our vendor, our weather vendor that we use, is called WSI. And they were having some data issues earlier. Hopefully those have been fixed. But this is the late night run or the evening run of the H-triple-R model. And here we are tomorrow. And again, nothing tomorrow. Matter of fact, we could see clouds, and most of the day is going to be capped. I mean, there could be what we call some shallow convection or little showers that may try to develop underneath that cap. I mean, they'll be low topped, and they won't be anything severe. But you can't rule that out. But as we get into the afternoon, look at how the H-triple-R doesn't even develop storms back out to the west. It just keeps the atmosphere a little capped, and it really doesn't pick up on anything going on as far as thunderstorms developing tomorrow afternoon because there's no lift. But as we get around or after sunset tomorrow, you can almost see it up here north of the Oklahoma-Kansas border. There's a little supercell up there. And then here we are late tomorrow night with that cluster of storms forming. This is probably going to be a little slow. Typically the models are not fast enough with these lines. When they develop, they usually push pretty quickly. So I usually like to take the time frames and decrease by 1 hour. So in other words, this shows midnight the storm's still west of Kroll, but I would say by midnight they probably would be to Kroll or in our western counties. And from there, I mean, and these storms still have nice cores to them. And remember, there's a lot of instability. There's not a lot of cap there, and there's a lot of wind energy. So these storms still got something to work with, even in the middle of the night tomorrow night. These still could pack quite a punch in this cluster here. So we'll have to watch it closely. There we are. And again, I'm going to say this is 1:30. I'm going to say that this line is probably around 1:30. Through Vernon and probably approaching Wichita Falls by about 2 or 3, even though this shows it moving through around 8:30 a.m. Now your line has become a little better organized, and when you see a line of storms, everything stretches out and you usually get just straight line winds. But occasionally out ahead of these lines, the winds will be out of the southeast, and then you get a quick shift in the wind out of the west with these lines of thunderstorms. And oftentimes that little quick change in wind direction at the Earth's surface can create spin-ups, and that's something else you'll watch for. These are usually EF0, EF1 kind of spin-ups, we call them. Occasionally they can be a little bit stronger, but usually not. So maybe some small hail, some strong gusty winds, and you can't rule out maybe a tornado or two late tomorrow night. This should be east of us by the time you get up on Friday. Could be some pretty good severe weather, maybe in northeast Texas on Friday, but as of right now, it doesn't look like a lot. Now let's advance this and let's go to Saturday. Pretty active weather pattern. So I've done something I usually wait to draw this little dark red area probably until maybe the day before, you know, when we're really close. But, you know, there's just a look to this system that, you know, one of two things can happen. Either there's going to be a pretty big tornado outbreak across the region, or we get too many storms early on, which reduces the threat for tornadoes. But right now, I'm leaning more towards, just from some of the data I've been looking at, and this is still subject to change, just some of the data really suggests that this area up in here, you know, maybe even down into here, could really get hit hard by this one. You know, it really has that look. If we don't see a lot of storms early on in the day, you know, I would say that somewhere in here could perhaps maybe see a high risk for severe weather. And there could be a high risk coming out for that from the Storm Prediction Center. But, you know, we have to keep discrete supercell modes for that. So I do have that dark red area drawn, and I'll reshape it some. I did keep North Texas in this too, because the parameters are favorable here as well. But a lot of the models are trying to develop these bigger supercells up here in the central Oklahoma, and that's usually where it's at. But we'll have to just kind of wait and see how everything plays out on Saturday. If we don't see a lot of storms early on in the day, then you'll probably see supercells breaking out in this area here. And on Saturday, everything would check. Every box would be checked there as far as ingredients. You've got all that energy, lots of moisture, lots of tropical moisture in place. It's going to be humid. You've got the lift with the thunderstorm. This storm system's actually kicking out. Remember I said at the start of this whole Facebook Live is you had to have it kick out at the right time. Well, this would be kicking out at the right time. You get the lift on top of all this storm energy that's building up. You got the dry line moving in, and you've got the wind energy with it too. And you got a lot of wind shear, strong wind shear. So if these trends continue, then I would expect perhaps a significant severe weather outbreak maybe on Saturday over a large area. But this really could be especially central and northern Oklahoma, maybe even up here in the southern Kansas, and then maybe as far south as North Texas. But we'll have to just kind of wait and see how all that goes. You know me, I don't like to hype weather up, but this is one we have to keep an eye on and just kind of see how it all develops. But in this greatest risk area, all severe weather hazards are certainly possible. All severe weather hazards are possible in the red area too, but as of right now, the ingredients look best right here. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Of course, the short-range computer models like the CAMs I was telling you about, this is Saturday. It'll be, I guess maybe tomorrow night is when we'll start getting will be able to get into some of these things on Saturday, because it goes out 48 hours. So for Thursday night, then it'll get into Friday and Saturday night. So yeah, to tomorrow night about this time, I'll be able to have a better idea of some ideas of what's going to happen. So. All right. Well, I mean, that's really all I got for right now. My best advice to you is just don't be nervous. There's no reason, nothing to be nervous about. Just chill out and just remain calm. And things are certainly going to take shape. They're going to definitely change shape. But it's just that time of the year we're going to be dealing with this. We just got to deal with it. So. There is, Chelsea, but it's a low-end threat tomorrow night late. Not Thursday during the day, tomorrow night late. And yes, Wichita would be in on that, yes. If this were coming out, if this storm system were kicking out tomorrow afternoon or evening and we were able to get supercells, I'd be more concerned about it. But a line, I'm not totally ruling it out. Cluster line, I'm not going to rule it out because, like I say, tomorrow night the wind shear is going to be kicking a lot of wind energy. We'll have to just kind of wait and see if there is we'll have to wait and see if the behavior of these storms, lots of stuff to take into consideration. Not a lot of cap, but sometimes just a little cap can certainly make a difference. Now, this is not a microburst type situation. This would be a straight line wind or a weak spin up kind of tornado type situation. Ben, I don't know about DFW. Early Friday, yes, you'll see very, I'm talking about early Friday morning, there'll probably be that area of storms moving through, and you could see some tornadic activity with that. Now, Saturday, maybe at night, it looks like the system would probably time up better for you at night for some severe weather there on Saturday. But I expect day 2, if you follow SBC, which they haven't had a real good track record this spring. And I don't use their forecast. I don't show you convective outlooks from the Storm Prediction Center because everybody else shows those, and you can see those anywhere. Plus, I have my own ideals and thoughts and opinions on severe weather. I don't have to rely on somebody else to give them to me. So, and that's why I do my own thing. And it's usually not far off, but a lot of times, or sometimes it'll be a little bit different because I make adjustments to things, kind of based upon what I'm seeing. So, I would expect tomorrow there to be a moderate risk for a large part of Oklahoma, perhaps for Saturday, maybe parts of North Texas for Saturday. It'd be a level 4 for Saturday, and then I wouldn't be surprised if things continue to trend towards a supercell kind of event if you saw SBC go high risk for central Oklahoma maybe on a Saturday, maybe down into North Texas, but right now central and northern Oklahoma and southern Kansas. So there is one for Saturday. That's the one I was just talking about, D. But there's one tomorrow night late as well. So, all right, I got to go get ready for the newscast. I'm still in my stuff from earlier tonight. So I've got to go. I appreciate you guys too, Janet. Thank you very much for joining me here. And I'll have updates on this situation over the next couple of days. Just stay weather conscious. Just stay up to date with the weather and remember the sources that you trust. Don't fall victim to the hypers out there, because they hype every single thing that's there. Everything. I still don't understand, why so many people follow those guys. It's gotten to the situation now where you have more people following the hypers than you do a credited good meteorologist like myself. One that doesn't hype up the weather, who gets it right more than he gets it wrong. Those guys that hype up weather usually get it wrong. So, all right, guys, y'all have a great night. We'll see you a little bit later on.